So we're on Anything Cricket Let's Talk, the straight drive edition. Martin Parris is smiling. I don't know if that's because West Indies qualified for the Super 8 or because England is back on track. But cricket umpire, I don't know if to say cricket umpire or former cricket umpire. Once an umpire, always an umpire. Welcome, Martin.
I actually am smiling because I'm back on anything cricket. Let's talk. And this time around, it's not what's wrong with Martin.
Well, actually, what's wrong with Martin? If there's anything, we'll have to take second place to what's wrong with England because
Exactly.
they've been off to a horrible start. But let's forget about England for now. You're celebrating West Indies going through to the playoffs. That means a number of things for different people. As West Indians, we are all happy about that, I would hope. But as Barbadians, we are even more pleased because the Kensington crowd will get to see West Indies play in the Super 8. And that's something that I'm sure will be very pleasing.
The most pleasing part about it is that, well, ever so welcome, well, wait for your call. Nobody took the time to pay attention to the fact that those suspicious 4 warm-up games ahead of the tournament went towards ICC rankings for seeding ahead of the tournament. Therefore, because of the template of the matches that they have, West Indies would know as C2, which is the second seed in their Group C, that their matches will be playing on X day at Y venue against whoever manages to get through as those seeds from the other groups. I make no apologies for the shaking hand because I am shaking inside that something as simple as that could not be explained. People want to know when is West Indies going to be playing at Kensington, which day to buy my tickets for, stuff like that. That once you had paid attention to that little blue square, regardless of where West Indies finishes in their group, they are seeded C2 according to the group and according to their ICC World Ranking prior to a ball being bowled in the tournament. And I leave that there.
Okay, so you're happy that West Indies have gone through. Um, what do you think has worked well for the West Indies side so far?
Being at home, actually coming off the consistent 4 wins against 2 different opponents. And I don't care what anybody else tells me. South Africa against West Indies, and we were not at full strength. And they had people coming off of IPL and this PL and that PL. Now, not to mention the other thing that, well, you can see I still have my hat, so I haven't eaten it. Australia played against us with 9 of their squad members available. And we jump all over the West Indies players when they turn up for our series, just a tour, not even a World Cup. And these people turn up for a World Cup with only 9 of their squad players, giving their players a quote unquote much needed break ahead of the World Cup tournament. But yeah, that West Indies is winning is because we have a team and the squad seems to be, how do you put it, feeding off of that 2012, 2016 energy that I guess Coach Sammy is managing to inspire in them.
What do you think needs to be addressed moving forward? I mean, you've won 3 matches, 2 against the lesser ranked sides, 1 against New Zealand, which is a team that normally does well in global tournaments. It's going to get tougher. So, what would the Indies have to look up for, or what would they need to do to make sure they can maintain this success?
You know, funny you should mention what should the West Indies be doing the further they are going into the tournament. You ever notice that when we are on tour or we're playing any tournament, first test match, second test match, by the time the third one is coming around, first one day, second one, by the time the third one is coming around, it's when the West Indies team actually starts to get that momentum, that consistency, and indeed show that they are professional. Because as a team, The guys don't get exposed to that. A, unity. B, higher level preparation. They're busy elsewhere making other people's franchises, marquee level. And even if you don't know, because I realize I said about 17 times, and that's not me. I'm not limited in my vocabulary.
Okay, Martin. Yeah, so West Indies then looking good, and the fans are happy. Let's have a look at the England side. Let's go back to them. They started very poorly. The bowling made to look, very inadequate by Scotland in that rain-out game, and then a total thrashing from Australia. And it was clear that they would need to be spectacular against a lesser ranked sides if they want to have a chance of qualifying. Well, they've done that. They blew the side away today. Oman just beat them off the park. They're back on track then.
I was telling my brother, oh man, it's unfortunate sometimes when life gives you a name that fits sometimes, I say, the character of what you've been doing. I am sorry for Oman. They have come here. They have had to qualify to come here. And it's unfortunate that they came up against an England Lions that was slightly wounded. And I don't know when Androcles removed the thorn out of the paw, but the Lions seem to want it to roar again. For tournaments like these, honestly, you have to get rid of your bad games at the group stage. Because by the time you get into the Super 8s or the playoffs, as they say, there's no room for bad games anymore.
So England back on track and look as though they will be able to qualify or less.
I kicked no ball, dead ball, sorry, because you didn't really deliver anything. I stopped you on your way in. You sure that England is back on track, or at least England won and won handsomely? Because here's where the debate is out. Would you have taken the risk today as captain and winning the toss to bowl first or to bat first? Because that was the next debate going on in other circles. Net run rate is going to be the thing because you're going to end up on the same points as Scotland.
Well,
do you pile up a heap of runs?
They've already taken their net run rate now above Scotland. So if the remaining matches go as expected, that is Australia defeat Scotland and England defeat Namibia, England will advance because
any win at all.
Pardon me?
Any win at all for England causes them to advance.
Exactly.
Because by virtue of winning, they'll keep their run rate above
Scotland will probably improve their net run rate against Australia. That's unlikely.
But we're not dealing with unlikely because it's the mathematicals, and this is a great equalizer this tournament. And the funny
if Scotland defeat Australia, they wouldn't have to worry about net run rate.
Exactly.
They have 7 points. But
if both Australia and Scotland do a rain dance and they get 1 point apiece, they don't have to worry about England.
You mean Scotland wouldn't have to worry about England?
Australia isn't worried about anybody, apparently.
Well, actually, the Aussie said that England's a side that, it's good if you can get them out to the tournament. I found that a very interesting comment since they have to play Scotland. But and then there was also some talk about some of the Australian players being arrested. So that's going to be interesting. I look forward to that. But I think what you're trying to say is that Scotland on 5 points can pick up a point from rain, which will take them to 6 points.
Yes.
And therefore, England, or I should say, let's say when England defeat Namibia, they will move to 5 points. And then Scotland will advance. So basically, it looks as though the Scots should be trying their best, however that's possible, to get a rained-out game.
And Scotch-free, as you say?
Yeah. So that rain prospect, that rain situation makes it interesting. But certainly Scotland are in a much worse position, if you will, than they were, than they would have been, let's say, had Oman be able to make a fight.
Mind you, I do remember FIFA having to change the last group stage matches to be playing simultaneously because someone worked out that if we played to a 0-0 draw, we both would go through to the next round. And therefore, if you don't know what the score is in the other match, etc., you can't determine who else comes out of your group or who stays in the group and doesn't go on, and so on and so forth. It's interesting, especially when there's a thing called the ICC Anti-Corruption Panel, and yet we see cricket being sponsored by betting establishments.
Well, Martin, cricket is a gentleman's game, so I don't think we need fear anything like that.
Well, there are two gentlemen here discussing cricket, so I suppose it still is a gentleman's game.
All right, so your predictions moving forward. Let's take the semifinals. The Super 8 has already begun to take shape. Take me on to the semifinals. Who are you looking? Who are you expecting to be there?
Well, here's the other thing. We still have to wait on two crucial results to find out who are some of the people that are likely to make up these 3 games to be played in the semifinal, the group's Super 8 stage. Honestly speaking, I have been enjoying the tournament for the adjustments and tactical, awareness. Everybody came off of a IPL, which, how do you put that now? The IPL kind of spoiled us in terms of batting, where we saw 200 plus innings quite a few times in the tournament. And we expected those same players to come now into the drop-in pitches of America and the unused ones here in the Caribbean, where we tidied up the front house and dusted off the what's not. But not much cricket was being played on our pitches, and expected to see the same 200-run pitches in the region and in America. But no, as you would know, you bowl first and you realize, okay, these are the lines and lengths and the bounce and the turn that the pitch gave when I was bowling at you. Then when it's your turn to bat, you should have paid attention to what strokes are dangerous, which ones are safe, what gets runs, etc. We talk about putting the brain of some cricketers into that of a lizard or a mouse, and they will fly straight into a cat. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Martin, can't have a chat with you and not ask you your views on the officiating in the tournament so far.
Oh my goodness gracious me. I haven't been paying that much attention to it, but I do note that one or two of the things that have, let's say, been adjusted in the various ICC law codes. The last one I was certain about was October 2017. There might have been one since then. Someone made an appeal and there was a referral, and all of a sudden they examined all aspects of being out. Now, when I started doing this in 1995 and got certified in 1998, how's that is an appeal that covers all manners of being out? I subsequently saw something that for DRS, which is the the decision referral system, that you must specify what manner of dismissal you're asking them to go and check out. But surely if the technology is supposed to be there to be giving you the correct decision, then therefore that part of it, as I say, perverts the laws of the game, especially the spirit of the game. I'd like to know that if you were out for whatever reason, you were given out, and if you're not out, well, so it goes. But we have the scenario now where next time you go to umpires convention, Mr. Hackett, you can ask them what happens when an umpire gives somebody out, the referral comes back, and the person is found to be not out. And let's say, 4-leg buys would have been scored, and because you gave somebody out, those 4-leg buys that would have counted towards the team's innings total end up being the same 4 deficitial runs at the close of their innings. They used to say cricket is a batsman's game. You remember that?
Yeah, well, as far as that's concerned, Martin, you may recall the 50-over World Cup when Joe Archer bowled that super over, and how the chaos that created the super over,
Mm-hmm.
overthrows and things of that nature. When things happen to certain teams, it creates attention. Attention is drawn to it. And that silly regulation regarding the referral where you don't get the runs that you would have scored had the umpire not made a mistake, that will be addressed when one of the major stakeholders, more likely India, someone of that nature, in a final, in a World Cup final or something similar to that, lose because of that regulation. So I'm not really too worried about it. Anyone who can't see that that's as silly as anything that has ever happened in a sport, well, that myopia of that person, that's just unfortunate for them. But that's not going to be addressed until it affects the right people or the wrong people, depending on how you look.
I remember when I was reading Animal Farm in fifth form, Benjamin the donkey was cited as being cynical. I actually used to find him realistic. And just because you're not saying all hail the pigs and, you know, getting on like if this is not the third time that we're hosting a cricket World Cup in Barbados and the Caribbean, I will just say this. Yes, the place looks festive. Yes, there's been improvements to the place. Yes, the cricket has been engaging, regardless of whether you know who is playing for whom in which team. However, on a positive note, you see today, nobody remembered how hot today was and the other things that were concerning them. This happens every time the West Indies team is successful. This happens every time we win and the further we go in tournaments. A lot of things haven't happened as yet that can happen in this tournament. First one is I don't think anybody won at home as far as my memory serves me relative to the T20 International World Cup. And I'm trying to remember if anybody won as a player and now as coach. So there you go. Something to be working towards.
And I'm sure Sammy has that at the back or maybe at the front of his mind. Thanks, Martin. Always interested in having a chat with you. Here's hoping that the form of the West Indies will continue to be as good as it has been so far.
Time, gentlemen.